So, what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
All right, the big main event. Vince, where does Willy's Wonderland rate on your Cageometer?
This was tough, man, because kind of like Dog Eat Dog, I had a lot of fun watching it. I had to turn my fucking brain off because when I started thinking about things, I just got angry. But overall, I'll give it a 5, right down the middle, right? Because I did have a lot of fun watching it. I can see that they were trying to do things and trying to kind of play into it. They just didn't execute on those things. I mean, we fucking talked that to death, so I won't go in on it anymore. So yeah, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. And then as far as Nick's performance, like I said, I kind of felt like he didn't really have to do a lot, so maybe that's a little deceiving. But same with the movie, I'll give it a 5, right? Because I think he did a good job at making it fun during the fight scenes, having a lot of fun during his breaks. It was always super entertaining, as fucking awkward as it was. And then he had a little cagey moment, a few cagey moments with some of the looks he was given out, and like Nigel said, where he goes and does like the karate stance, right? So he's definitely having fun with the role, but there wasn't really, he really didn't have to do much, and maybe that speaks to his credit. Maybe he did such a good job at playing this obscure character that it just kind of came off as like a walk in the park kind of thing. So I'll give him a 5 on his performance.
Nigel, where does this rate on your Cageometer?
I did not enjoy this movie at all. Even from an ironic standpoint, it just was not. I feel like it was not, like I said before, it's done so poorly that even if it was trying to poke fun at stuff, it's still not done well enough to warrant that, even liking it ironically in my mind. Yeah. So I'm giving it a 2 out of 10.
Ooh.
It was,
hardcore,
it was
man.
Low budget. It wasn't 1 out of 10, which would be the lowest score possible, because some of it was shot it was okay, but it was still I don't think it was I don't think it looked good. The acting wasn't good. The editing was choppy and weird. The choreography wasn't even that good. To me, the main draw, and I was, even looking at it sure, Nicolas Cage fighting animatronics, fine, I'm in. Let's watch it. How bad can it be? But even the fighting with the animatronics was not that good. It was the choreography was really shitty, and it just looked like he was slap fighting with guys in rubber suits. And that was how most of it panned out.
Yeah.
So they didn't even deliver on that for me. So I said that Dog Eat Dog would have been a 2 out of 10 if it wasn't for Willem Dafoe, which I gave it a 3 out of 10 because of that. This didn't even have a Willem Dafoe level performance from anybody, including Nick Cage. So it sits at a 2 out of 10 for me. I get it. They are not a target audience. I know that it's not going to be a good movie, and I know people love it because it's it is what it is. But I just it didn't fire on any cylinders for me personally.
Gotcha.
As for Nick Cage, it is tough because he wasn't given a lot to do. I give him a 4 out of 10. Even though he wasn't given a lot to do, I've seen him do more in things, and I try not to. I don't want to compare him roles to roles across different movies because every movie's different and stuff. Yeah. I just felt like even as a mute guy, he could have had more presence in this movie. He just was kind of there doing things, aside from the pinball flash dance where he got to do something himself. The rest of it was just he didn't really look menacing. He didn't have that kind of presence. Even he had in Mandy, he doesn't talk a lot, but he's got a lot more going on. He's got just more you can feel about the character. This it was he's just a blank slate. He's just a dude. They could have had anybody doing this role. Yeah. I don't think he. I don't want to say he didn't try, but it almost feels like he didn't try to do anything because they weren't asking him to do anything, and it just heart wasn't in or something. So not awful, but not good, and definitely not great. So 4 out of 10 for me on his performance.
On my Cageometer, this was tough because I did have fun, but I gave it a 4 because it's not a good movie. It's kind of just bad. And I think it was intentional. I think they intentionally made this movie bad. I think they left stuff ambiguous on purpose to make it, kind of fit that horror movie trope.
Well, that fits the Five Nights at Freddy's thing too, because a lot of that game's ambiguous, and then there were fan theories out the ass too. So maybe that's what they were trying to go. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump over you. That's one of the things I wanted to think. I really didn't like that this was an off-brand Five Nights at Freddy. It felt very cynically cash grabby, like stealing someone else's property and making a movie out of it without paying anything. I don't know if they even tried to get the license. Sounds like they didn't, because they've been accused of plagiarizing it and denying that they did.
Yeah.
The fact that there is a movie being made means that obviously somebody was open to licensing it for something, and it looks like they didn't try. They just, nabbed up the concept and tried to shit out a movie really quickly to capitalize on it. And that,
it reminds me of that
terrible movie aside, that doesn't sit well with me.
There was that Ashton Kutcher Steve Jobs movie that came out right before that movie with Michael Fassbender, where he's Steve Jobs, and I feel like that's what they were trying to do. It's like, oh, let's jump ahead, and probably because of COVID, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was delayed, and they were like, we could jump on that bandwagon, get it, and then everybody will call that a ripoff of Willy's Wonderland, and we can make all of our money and all that kind of stuff. But
it happens in Hollywood where scripts bounce around and the word gets out that
it's like Deep Impact and Armageddon are the same fucking movie.
So they're like,
it
we
happens
didn't
all the
snag the
time.
rights to this, but we can just steal that idea and make our own version that's crappier and get it
It was
out.
like Dante's Peak and Volcano came out at the same time.
Yeah.
Like the exact same movie.
Yeah.
That happens over and over and over again in Hollywood, and I feel like that's probably what happened here. But okay, so I know I feel like they leaned into the horror movie tropes, but it was not less parody and more just annoying. The kids are all obvious horror movie stereotypes, and they're terrible actors. Every single one of them is a terrible actor, including Liv. Every one of them is just really bad. And I think it was intentional. I think they wanted them to be bad. The intent was to make them be shitty actors, but it's not. It didn't work. It's just annoying. They're just annoying every time. You just can't wait for them to die. I was hoping Liv would die too, because she was so fucking annoying, especially in that monologue. Oh my god, that monologue was terrible, and
She's
felt
the worst actor out
intentional
of all of them,
that they intended to make that monologue shit, and I think they intended to make the sheriff's monologue shit. I think they tried. Yeah. Here's useless, exposition that is just obviously just shoved down your throat, ham-fisted into the movie, and it just didn't come across well. And like you said, the choreography with these fights, that was the whole point of the movie, and you still didn't do it that well. All of them were over in 30 seconds. You could have stretched these out a little bit more.
Including
we could have made
the fight with Willy.
And the big final battle that we built to for 90 minutes is over in less than a minute. And to that really annoying, warped out version of It's Your Birthday that just went on for 5 minutes straight, that just was like nails on a chalkboard. I really hated that. And even at a certain point when I was watching it, I watched it with my wife and my brother, and they were both just looking around when is this going to end? But this is annoying shit going to be over with. Yeah, I thought it was shot fairly well, but the weird fisheye lens throughout lent to the fact that they didn't really know what they were doing in some of these parts. The lens flares to obscure the shitty animatronics. There's just a lot of things that just weren't very good. That being said, I did have a lot of fun. I really did have fun with the movie, and I couldn't wait for the next fight to happen each time. Nick Cage was a lot of fun. I guess I'll just jump over to him. I gave him a 5 because, like you said, he didn't have a whole lot to do. But even with what he did have to do, he was just robotic and odd. And I don't know what they were going for with that. Like you said, maybe he was an animatronic himself, or...
I thought it as a joke, but then as the robotic went on, I'm like, this feels more and more like a real thing they were doing.
There's also another scene where he robotically looks up at the sheriff, and the robotics shot of him looking at the country bumpkin who's chewing on a sausage the whole movie. there's just a lot of things where it's like, was that intentional, or is that just Nick Cage got one take? We got one take. Let's move on. You know, it's like Kevin Smith.
Maybe it's something Nick
described.
Cage wanted to do and nobody else wanted to, but they couldn't argue with him, so he just did it.
Yeah. Well, that seems to happen a lot, as we've seen.
Yeah.
Like his stupid Humphrey Bogart thing in
Right.
Dog Eat Dog. He just did a thing, and the director was like, "Stop
I don't know
doing
what
that."
you're talking about.
Yeah, like if you've got more of an amateur director who can't call
rein
him out on
in this
shit and-
superstar? You know.
yeah, it's probably just like, I'm gonna do it like this.
And this guy, I
Okay.
think, this was like his first feature, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
That jives with
Yeah.
the track record of the movies we've watched so far. Especially later, Nick Cage is kind of like, I do what I want and don't fucking tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I give him a 5 because he was a lot of fun, and he, you know, all of his little weird quirks that he did, like the weird look in the hallway, the weird look in the truck with the guy chewing the sausage, the pinball dance I loved so much. I'd give him a 5 just for the pinball dance, because that was fucking spellbinding. It was so good. But yeah, definitely not the greatest movie, and definitely not Nick Cage's best performance.